So let's say somebody wants to do it in a more traditional sense. They want to raise money and they don't mind being accountable to someone. They don't mind having to create a PPM, private placement memorandum. They don't mind going the harder route and reaching out to less people for a larger dollar amount. What are the SEC laws that filmmakers need to be careful with in that realm?
And again, it's not an either or.
Right.
Start with crowdsourced funding. And as we're getting into discussion on the SEC, know that
Overviews.
there is donor crowd-based funding, which is everything that I just talked about.
Right.
You know, the 2013 Jobs Act created the possibility for equity-based crowdsourced funding, and they've just recently, promulgated the regulations that say this is how it works. And I don't even mention it to my clients except to say, stay as far away from equity-based crowdsourced funding as you can.
Treat it like a California LLC.
It should never be used. You will be sued if you use that approach. There's going to be lots of lawsuits that come down from that.
So let's just talk in the broad strokes of someone has a friend who knows a doctor who needs a tax write-off. Are there benefits for people investing into independent film if they're accredited investors?
I mean, okay, so when you get into the equity, the reason you don't want to use the crowdsource equity is because you're saying to all across the internet, anybody that wants to invest in my movie, I'll give you, sit down, shut up, put in your money in crowdsource funding, and if there's a profit, I'll give you a call and give it to you. And that's dangerous because filmmaking is a high-risk situation.
Right.
There are still rules that you have to follow with that equity financing. Independent filmmakers are not going to follow those rules. You don't know who's making the contributions to you, and someone could put in $50, and when they don't get their money, bring a class action lawsuit because you failed to follow the rules that needed to be followed. So when you're dealing with equity, and equity financing, it means you're involving security laws with a passive investor as opposed to an active participant in a financier.
And so let's just clarify in a simple passive versus active means passive can't tell me what to do, active wants to have their fingerprints all over your film. Is that correct?
100%.
Okay.
Passive is sit down, shut up, give me your money, and if there's a profit at the end, I'll give it to you.
And active can also offer to be passive in a very generous sense. I would say that I was fortunate on my film to have producing partners that I offered the opportunity to be active and they opted to be passive. So there are those angels that exist out there.
Yeah, and there's contract and those people and there's a lot of different aspects of being active. Active doesn't mean you have to sit in every casting call and decide that. Active can be, look, I went to film school. I don't know, item one about running a business. I want your business know-how and knowledge and look over everything from, a
deal memo to an edit.
From a business perspective and these distribution agreements and, marketing and public relations and things like that even if they're not even in the entertainment industry, they may have this business acumen that is far above yours and can be a trusted advisor and someone that renders decisions.
Or they're in your demographic that you're producing the film for, and their input is valuable because that's who you're making the film for.
Sure.
So I would say that situation is always different, right? It could be worked out every time. It's probably a different situation.
You always look at nothing's cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Everything needs to be look at the exact facts. And when you're dealing with active participants, it's a negotiation. It's a forming a partnership. So there's a lot of discussion in that co-production agreement as to how the responsibilities are being delegated and divided. Whereas the passive investor, here's our investment terms, now where's your money, please sit nicely and we'll tell you when the premiere is. When you're doing that, there are lots of different security laws and that you can utilize to be in compliance.
Okay.
Different rules are based on the amount of money that you're raising.
Okay.
Different rules apply to the type of investors that you're approaching. Generally speaking, in the most general sense for this aspect, you are always safest going after friends and family, pre-existing acquaintances that you truly know, and that have a net worth of $1 million or more. Those are your quality accredited investors, plus they're close to you. That is a group that is going to be more apt to absorb the loss and not be looking to file a lawsuit against you than others that don't fit in that criteria.
Can they still get a write-off? Are there still things like Section 181 that can help offset a potential loss in the first year of the investment?
There is some
Shelters.
some shelters like that. And Section 181, which is a federal law, exists. It is never used to its full potential because it always has a constant sunset provision, meaning that you don't know if it's going to be around the following year.
Right.
And a lot of people just can't get the money and put this into production and have that all happen within a year to make sure you can fully take advantage of it. So a lot of times when people aren't sure if 181 is going to be around in the following year, they have to rush and make sure that they shoot at least like a week of production in December.
A certain amount of time to qualify for that year, that tax year.
And I'm not so sure if 181 is really the be all end all in terms of, well, you lost all your money, but look at this savings. The write-off. It's like Seinfeld is like, you don't even know what that means. I don't know, but they do it. They just write it off.
Write it off.
I think people want to make money. People, for independent filmmakers, want to believe in you or your project.
Right.
And that is the reason they're investing more than anything. It's like an investment plus.
Right.
I'd like to see a return, but the plus is I've watched you talk about being a filmmaker since you were a little girl with the camera.
Right.
Or I think it'd be really cool to go to the premiere. I want to visit the set. I want to just have a great cocktail story to tell friends.
Right. I want to come visit the set. I want to meet actors. I want to understand. A lot of times I find that investors will do it almost as an educational experience.
Yeah. And so that is really how you should sell it. If you know that's why they're coming in, say, look, this is a high risk investment.
Right.
You very well may be likely to lose all of it, but understand this is the experience you're getting. And maybe there's a profit.
Offer perks.
But look at everything else that you're getting here. And when you're honest and forthright with that, I mean that's the people that have the best experience with the equity players.
So the people that have the best experience with equity, you find, are the ones that are offered perks like set visits and premieres. Do you find that that's the best way to offset people's expectations?
I would find out what they want. I mean, it can be somewhat insulting if you need to know your investors, you need to know what motivates them, and saying, well, you lost all your money, but here, have a hat. That could come across in a much different way for two very different people.
Yeah, I find that the best way is always honesty and communication, and above all, transparency.
And I'm always telling people when things go bad, that's the time when you have to have most contact with your investors, not ignore them.
Don't pull the boiler room, don't disconnect your phone, don't change your number. Be honest and communicate, and as long as you're in communication about what's happening and how you're trying to arbitrage the situation.
People can understand problems arise.
Right.
They can forgive those problems. What they can't forgive is you not returning their calls.
Correct.
And again, if you have chosen the equity players not just randomly out of the internet of people you don't know, but people that have a family connection or some type of connection with you and who are also wealthy enough to absorb the loss, they're going to appreciate the phone call and they're going to roll with the punches.
Right. So that's great to know about equity. Thanks for all the tips on that, from crowdfunding to individuals.